taking off in 5, 4, 3, 2. It's your boy T.O. as you know. No rain, real name, no games, no gimmicks tonight. But we are rocking it alone. It's okay. Got some things I want to say. It's going to be a short one because I am actually going out to go watch The Matrix Resurrections after I wrap here, which is dope. But hello to everybody. How are you all doing? All 3.5 of you. I don't know where the half came from. But yeah, hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're having a good holiday season. Yeah, look, let's just get to it, man. I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of like last predictions for The Matrix Resurrections because going into it, look, I wouldn't go as far as to say that The Matrix is my favorite movie of all time, but I will say that as I've gotten older, it's become much more apparent to me that I identify with the Matrix type of, I guess, filmmaking, or however you want to define it as. I identify with these type of films more than I guess I do others. And what I mean by that is basically like the philosophy angle, where they deal with a lot of philosophical questions that isn't just easy as, hey, we cut the film on and we've got action and and then that's all there is to this whole thing. I like kind of dealing with, sort of grappling with questions about like who we are and what's going on, and just a lot of philosophical shit. Anyways, so going into this film, I definitely, going with the trailers and just sort of with the general buzz about the film, I was excited about the movie. But I'm not going to lie, the trailers left me with a little bit of apprehension. I was kind of, I don't know. There's like two ways I looked at it. One, I looked at it as just excited to just jump back into this world of the Matrix, but also there were some parts of it that kind of looked a little hokey to me from the trailers, like specifically Morpheus. I don't know why, but just kind of the way they kind of set his character up, it just kind of looked kind of almost like cartoonish, a little bit cartoonish, but I've been shout out to Addie. We had a great conversation Monday in which we just talked about sort of how we felt about films overall, and one of the things I kept stressing to him was I feel like the key to like any film, or the key to enjoying what it is you're watching, regardless of if it's your genre, if it's the thing that you're really looking forward to, whatever the case, if it's something new that you're not familiar with, the key to enjoying it is setting expectations, not necessarily low, but tempering your expectations, right? So that you're not going into it expecting a certain thing, because if you expect a certain thing, then you're inevitably going to be disappointed when you don't get that thing. The reverse of that, or not necessarily the reverse of it, but kind of pointing to that, is I just recently watched Spider-Man No Way From Home, or No Way Home. Those titles kind of just run together after a while, but in watching that, I was so delighted with it after watching it, because I went into it without really expecting anything. Obviously, heard the rumors about who's going to be there and all these cameos and all that stuff, but I kind of tried to tune all that out and just sat down in the theater and was like, all right, this is what I'm doing for the next 2.5 hours. I'm watching this movie, and whatever they throw at me, I'm going to take it in. And honestly, it worked out beautifully because I was so pleasantly sort of surprised. The movie itself kind of didn't make sense a little bit. There were a couple of sort of, what do you call them? There were a couple of things about the movie that just didn't make any sense, any sort of like logical sense with the premise that they sort of set up. It didn't work with it. And I'm not going to even go into it because it's a whole thing, but to make a long story short, there was just a couple aspects to it that just didn't jive with the rest of the story that they were trying to tell, and how our characters got into sort of the situations they got themselves into. It just didn't. It didn't always adhere to that, but honestly, it was so good that I really just didn't care at a certain point. But I really do genuinely believe that's because I didn't really go into it expecting a whole lot. I didn't really care, exactly what they gave me. I just knew that, and the reason why I saw it, so I saw it Friday when it came out Thursday, but the reason why, because I usually don't go see movies like that quickly, unless they are The Matrix, but the reason why I went to go see that one was because I just didn't want people to ruin it. Because I knew as soon as I would start seeing the thumbnails on YouTube and seeing shit on Twitter and IG, I just knew at some point somebody was going to ruin some of the things in this movie for me. So I went to go see it. But anyways, how all of that plays into The Matrix Resurrections is that I'm going into this movie without any sort of preset expectations. I actually just watched the trilogy throughout this past week, and I feel like they gave us a pretty complete story. However you might feel about the sequels, Reloaded and Revolutions, I feel like they really did give us a complete story from A to Z. They gave us everything we wanted. So as far as I'm concerned, Matrix Resurrections is just gravy on top. We get to catch up with these characters and see what the fuck is going on in the Matrix these days. After we thought we had rolled credits on the franchise, but going into this movie, I'm trying really hard not to expect too much from it, especially since seeing the trailers, and I really like the trailers, but there were a couple aspects to it. I was like, I don't know, this might not this might not go the way that I deep down really hope it would go in. But I'm willing to just accept whatever is sort of given to me. But that brings me to another sort of point. I tried really hard not to watch any sort of, like, obviously no spoilers, from people who might be posting sort of reviews of the movie, but also just even non-spoiler reviews. I tried to stay away from, with the exception of one. I did watch the Real Rejects, their post viewing review of the movie. And it didn't have any spoiler, at least no sort of major spoilers in there, but just their temperament was obviously, it painted the movie in a very particular light, and I kind of regret that, because I was able to kind of stay clean, so I can just go into this with my own opinion and then come out of it with my own opinion. But watching that sort of, oh man, it brought me back down to earth again, because it really sort of reemphasized the idea of expectations, because one of the gentlemen there, he had self-proclaimed Matrix fan, from the beginning, that it's his favorite movie, I guess, or franchise, and so you can tell just by sort of his mannerisms and by the things he said, that he was disappointed in Resurrections after watching it. But I feel like it's an impossible feat to expect that this thing that you've waited, or not even waited, but that is like 20 some odd years old, that you're going to come away from it, especially if it's in a very particular direction. If somebody is taking artistic license to create something that they wanted to create, this being Lana Wachowski, it's impossible to think that somebody can really be creative with something and sort of give you sort of exactly what it is that you're looking for. Now, how this stands in contrast with No Way Home is that No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, it didn't really have to do anything crazy, right? All it really had to do was give us sort of like a half-baked plot, something that kind of made sense a little bit, just a little bit, and then give us like the fan service stuff. and the way that they did it was so cool. And but that's all they really gave us. They didn't really, Spider-Man No Way From Home didn't really give you too much to really like it, again, from this sort of philosophical angle. It didn't really give us too much to sort of grapple with. It gave us some things, it presented an interesting scenario. But it didn't give us, it wasn't, it didn't try to think too hard. And I feel like with some of these movies that try to really be creative in what they're trying to ultimately say, which say what you will about the Matrix franchise, in each installment, they've tried to say something, we might not understand exactly what the fuck they're trying to say. Here's to you, Revolutions. But essentially we know that they're trying to say something, at least, something that isn't as easy as, oh, we can, the good guys win, the bad guys lose, and all is right with the world. And so I think that's why Spider-Man No Way From Home is different from Resurrections, is that, or at least different from the idea of sort of rebooting the Matrix, is that I feel like Lana Wachowski, no matter what, would try to say something with the movie. Now, we might not exactly what the fuck she's trying to say with it, or maybe like exactly what she's trying to say with it, but there's going to be no doubt that you're going to get something different. You're not going to get just, something that's very easy to sort of grapple with, or at least that's the going idea. Obviously, I need to sit down in a theater and actually watch the movie first before I can really sort of make that judgment, but I would have to assume that that's what's going to be the case. So the reason why I say all that is because my predictions for the movie are that I think, and obviously it's been impossible to sort of avoid sort of some of the commentary, not just from the reviews of the movie, but also from just commentary on the trailers that were put out, is that we're definitely going to get a lot of like meta things in this, especially when it deals with the idea of like sequels and franchises and all this jazz. I think we're going to get a lot of commentary on that. And something that I'm looking forward to is sort of a retooling of the relationship between Neo and Trinity. I never really accepted their romance. I didn't mind it, but I never really accepted it, right? Because there was no part of it that was really believable, mostly because I felt like, especially in the first 3 films, they were kind of essentially the same person, your character, if you want to call it. Both very stoic, don't really show too much emotion, weren't really great at conveying emotion, and so when you have that sort of dynamic, and you have 2 of the people who are having a relationship, but neither are really sort of displays, and nor did they really set them up for success in that realm, because they didn't put them in situations where you could just see how they were together. You got little glimpses here and there, but nothing like I don't know if fucking they find each other funny. I don't know. I don't know if they find each other really interesting. It was just always about the Matrix, whatever is going on in the Matrix. And that sort of informed their relationship. So we never really got to know them as why the fuck that they loved each other so much. It was kind of just, oh, they love each other, and we just moved on from that, which again, for the movie, for the story that they were trying to tell, perfectly fine. I didn't really, it wasn't something that I sort of tussled with too much, but it was something that upon rewatching it, it was something that I really just noticed as like, oh, yeah, they really didn't try at all to really set up their relationship outside of like why they loved each other. It was just a given that they loved each other, so that's one thing I'm hoping, and especially looking at the trailers, looks like they're going to try to improve upon that a bit. Another thing that I'll sort of predict, again, circling back to sort of why I watching the trailers, and sort of the thing that sort of gave me a lot of apprehension, is the idea of Morpheus. And you have Yahya Mateen the second, Yahya Abdul, I believe, Mateen the second, who plays Morpheus. He apparently plays a younger version of Morpheus. I feel that something is going to either happen with him, like maybe he's actually, maybe a part of the system and that he's being used somehow, or I guess his likeliness is being used somehow, or they're going to do something with him. I think that that's going to be a little not what we got in the first trilogy, or maybe it's to sort of redefine his story as we watched him in the trilogy, which I feel like I already don't care for, and I have no sort of like, I have no real grounds for that other than just watching the trailers and just seeing kind of how they looks like they're setting them up from the trailers. It just doesn't. I don't think I'm going to like what the approach is with him, but hopefully I get pleasantly surprised with that. We'll see. But yeah. Outside of that, I don't know if I have any other major predictions. I'm hoping, what I would hope for is we get something that forces us to go back and forth about exactly what's meant by it, or and they hammered home obviously free will versus determinism in the first trilogy, exactly like what does it mean to be free, and so I'm hoping they give us something like that, but different, a different maybe take, or an improved take on that, because I think they actually did a great job with the first three films, with sort of laying out an argument about free will versus determinism, and it's something that I actually grapple with. That the more I go back and watch them, the more I sort of realize that I kind of sit in that sort of same idea of what does it actually mean to be, given like the current state of the world, and, the idea that we say, oh, I like to think outside the box, but what the fuck does that actually even mean? And I feel like that's something that was prominent in the first three, or especially in the sequels. What does it actually mean to be like a free thinker, because I feel like the people who stress that the most, and I would probably actually include myself in that, aren't actually free. In fact, the moment you think you are free from, in terms of your thinking, I feel like that's the moment where the Matrix has you the most, is when you don't, when you think you're like above it, when you think that, oh yeah, I'm really, I'm really thinking differently than everybody else. I feel like that's kind of the moment where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like the Matrix, the Matrix has you just when and that's what Neo dealt with, especially in Reloaded, right? Neo thought, hey, I'm the one, I'm going to go do some dope shit, I'm going to free everybody and it's going to be awesome, and I'm going to, save Zion and it's going to be dope. And then they were like, yeah, that's kind of a part of the plan. And so, what do you do in that case? So anyways, but those are sort of like, some of my, sort of minor predictions for the film. But aside from those, honestly, I'm not really going into it with a preset notion of what I want to have happen, or what I need to have happened. I'm just glad that we're getting an addition to this, because I think with how it sort of ended, I don't think that they needed to really sort of, it would have been cool, but, or it is cool rather, but I don't think it needed, to be revisited. And I think they gave us so much in the first three films that even 20 some odd years later, it's a lot to sort of chew on and process and try to decipher. And, every time I watch it, I pick up on just new things, as, everybody sort of, or a lot of people say. And so anyways, just wanted to get that in real quick before I go watch it. We're not going to do a traditional show. We're taking a little bit of a holiday. Obviously, Christmas, among a host of other holidays, are going on right now. So here's to hoping that everybody else out there is having a good holiday season. Stay safe. And yeah, I think we'll be back next week. We might do a more condensed show as well next week, but I think we should give you guys some sort of content next week. But aside from that, I can't be more excited to go see this film. just for the sake of just jumping back into that world. And I might even do some sort of follow up tomorrow. Just to sort of say, sort of my post viewing thoughts on the movie. But yeah, I think besides that, I think that does it for me tonight, man. If you actually already saw the movie, post below how you sort of felt. Did it meet expectations? Did you expect a whole lot from it? Did it end up meeting those high expectations that you had for it, or did you not expect anything and it was a pleasant surprise or maybe a disappointment? I don't know. Comment below how you felt about the movie, and yeah. So with that being said, I think we will hit the very usual protocol. Fade out. Peace.